Hey coaches, Coach Sunny here with another video in our series, Coaching at 100%. Today we're going to be talking about addressing athletes with knee pain, a great way to take them through a series of assessments to see where that pain is manifesting and some awesome mobility recommendations that may be a best fit for that athlete. As always, if you have any questions, you can follow up with our messenger on our coaches page or get a hold of me directly through the office. All right. This is Becky. Becky is one of our athletes in our 7:30 class. So we noticed that she started having some difficulty with the squat, and she started to talk about having pain, especially towards that 90-degree bottom of the squat position. Originally, when we talked to the athlete, she believed that the pain was coming from maybe some issues that she had had in her hamstring prior to. So we wanted to definitely sit her down and do a bit of an assessment, because obviously where the issue is coming from is going to determine how we decide to scale around the issue and what mobility recommendations are going to be best for the athlete. All right, go ahead and squat for us. So when we first talked to the athlete, she was telling us that the pain, she felt it on the outside of the calf area, not through the back of the body or in the hips. This was the first indication that it was potentially not hamstring. So since the athlete was talking about having pain on the outside part of the calf, the first thing that I start to think about is the ankle. There are so many tendons that wrap around and travel up for stability. I immediately want to go and test her mobility to see if there's any differences between the sides of the body. So I have her get into our typical position that we do for our athletes for the wall ankle screen. Remember, you want the athlete roughly 3 to 4 inches away from the post, and you always want to see that their shoes are off. This is going to give us the best indication on if they can get the knee all the way to the target without having any lift involved. So we're going to go ahead and let her go through a couple reps. Notice here how she can get the knee to the post, but it's not without having to pick up the ankle at the bottom. And so I ask her how it feels. Becky, how does that feel?
Feels okay, feels tight.
Feels tight. So we have her switch sides. We went through 2. We're going to test the other side. Now we can get closer to the wall without nearly as much of a dramatic lift in the heel. We have her do it one more time just to make sure it wasn't a fluke. How does that feel?
Good.
That side feels good. So we immediately are seeing that there are some asymmetries within the body. Oftentimes that is very indicating that there was an injury there. So you always want to follow up. Becky, have you had any injuries within your ankle?
Nothing significant, just some probably poor running shoe choices, lots of running, maybe mechanics with my running, but nothing I can remember that was significant.
Did you have any side effects from those shoes? Was there any pain at any point, or is this a new thing that you've started to feel?
It's been ongoing with the ankle. It gets better and gets worse. It comes and goes, but this is the first time it's traveled up the side of my calf.
Traveled up
Yep.
the side. Okay, cool. So Becky's already told us that she's got a past history of having some ankle problems, probably from overuse, potentially poor mechanics, or the wrong choice of running shoe. So we're seeing that it is probably our idea of it being around the ankle and potentially some of that injury traveling up. All the same, you want to make sure that you follow up and make sure that it is not the athlete's hips or hamstring area that could potentially be giving her an issue, since that's what she first thought that the problem could be. So as we do our hamstring test in our mobility and in our day 1 intro, I'm going to have the athlete point out her hip bones, tell her to flex her feet towards the ceiling, and very slowly to move her left leg. Boom, we're nice and neutral. Very slowly move our right leg. We're nice and neutral. And then I just want to test and see if it's glute or hamstring activation causing the pain. So I ask her to get into a glute bridge stance, to bridge all the way up at the top. Is there any pain in that movement? And then to come back down. So we have no pain in range of motion, no limit in range of motion, or through glute activation. So the first mobility drill that we're going to show the athlete to do is one of my all-time favorites. Is we're going to have her actually take a lacrosse ball underneath the heel. The reason for this is that the insertion of the fibularis longus actually comes around and is attached underneath, which is why when that starts to get tight and that starts to pull, it can manifest pain up the chain as well as directly around where that tension was that she felt earlier. Becky, are you feeling anything?
I feel it.
We are feeling things, so we're on to the right spot. So the next mobility drill that we're going to talk about is more of the same. We're just changing up the implement that we're using. A barbell is great, especially because it rolls, being the main thing, but the center of it is a lot thinner. With it being thinner, we can get more direct into the area that could be causing the pain and be a little bit more intentional with how we're applying the pressure. So you can see here as that athlete is rolling back and forth with that position, she's able to control it a little bit more than she can a lacrosse ball, especially in the seated position. So one of the things that I always like to have in a good mobility practice is that we never want to get anything too loose or too mobile without adding some sort of strength couple in there with it. So the drill that we have her going through today is kind of like a 2-for-1 special. We have her banded and we're going to have her go into plantar flexion. So as she comes up with that heel off the ground, she's actually activating this muscle. It's the one that works to act towards plantar flexion. She's got the band, she's taking it through a good range of motion. She doesn't feel any pain or any issue with that, while as she goes back into this position, getting into a good distraction with that band in that plate. So we're working to mobilize towards the back end of this drill, we're working to strengthen towards the front end of this drill, and since we have started this in her mobility practice, Becky's able to walk down the stairs and get into a squat for the first time in a while without feeling any type of aggravation from this area, and that's always a successful day as a trainer. As always, make sure that your athlete is following up with their doctor and healthcare professional and making sure that we're all tracking this together. And that's what we've got for you today.